They say marriage is about sharing everything, so I shared her twin. Not out of love or lust, but out of poetic symmetry. When someone takes a knife to your back, it's only polite to offer them a mirror so they can watch themselves bleed. Besides, it's not cheating if the face looks familiar, right? It started the morning I found 2 toothbrushes in our bathroom, identical brand, identical color, identical bristleware. I only bought one. Hers. I stared at them, side by side in the cup, like twin soldiers guarding a secret, while she hummed in the kitchen to a song she used to hate. That was the first crack in the glass. You don't forget what toothbrush you've been using for 5 years, just like you don't hum to a song your ex used to play in the car while he fingered your thigh. I didn't confront her, not because I was afraid, but because I understood something in that moment. Betrayal, real betrayal, doesn't come with fireworks or loud declarations. It whispers. It hides in the quiet switch of a brand or the sudden change in her shampoo that smells nothing like the one I used to kiss on her scalp. That afternoon, while she was out at yoga, a class I knew had been canceled 3 months ago, I went into detective mode. Her phone was locked, but her laptop? Not so much. The moment I opened her messages, it was like the house dropped 10 degrees colder. Can't wait to taste you again. Read a message from someone labeled dog walker. We didn't have a dog. And unless she'd picked up a side hustle with golden retrievers and adultery, I knew exactly what that meant. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stared at the screen with the kind of calm you get when you know the storm is yours to unleash. She came back an hour later, sweaty and breathless, in clothes I'd never seen her wear before, shorts I thought she'd donated, and a tank top from a 5K she never ran. She kissed me on the cheek like I was a stranger she pitied, and that kiss sealed her fate. I didn't leave. I didn't even sleep on the couch. I waited, watched, collected data. Over the next week, I noticed everything, the way she turned her phone screen down when I walked in, the subtle twitch in her smile when I asked about her day, the second wine glass she washed and dried before dinner. She was careful, but not careful enough. I planted little traps, asked questions I already knew the answers to, suggested we try couples yoga, she declined, even mentioned getting a dog just to see her flinch. Every reaction, every lie, was a thread I added to the web I was spinning. The real revenge? That came when I called her a strange twin, Ava. Ava was everything my wife used to be: sharp-tongued, gorgeous, and venomously honest. They hadn't spoken in years over some family inheritance nonsense, but Ava picked up my call with curiosity and a laugh that told me she already knew something was wrong. I didn't have to say much, just hinted that her sister was slipping back into old habits. Ava asked when and where. I told her over coffee, and we didn't speak again for 2 days. The next time I saw Ava was when she knocked on my front door wearing the same perfume my wife wore on our wedding night. She walked in like she owned the place, and I let her. That night, I kissed the same face I'd married, only this time, it bit back. The irony wasn't lost on me. My wife came home late that evening, humming again, this time with a skip in her step. I was already in bed, freshly showered, the sheets still warm from Ava's goodbye. She climbed in beside me, kissed my neck, and whispered, "I love you." I looked at her, smiled, and said, "I know." Then I rolled over, knowing she could smell her sister's perfume still lingering on the pillow. I wasn't in a rush. I wanted her to doubt her senses, question her instincts. She'd already taught me how to ignore the obvious. Now it was her turn. The real game had just begun. At first, it was still perfect. At least, that's what I told myself. We had our routines: Sunday mornings with coffee and the crossword, Friday nights on the couch with a bottle of red and some stupid movie neither of us paid attention to, midweek texts just saying "miss you" like teenagers stuck in adult lives. I trusted her the way you trust gravity or breathing, without question, without hesitation. She was my best friend, my anchor, the only woman I'd ever allowed to see me fully stripped down to bone and flaw. And she seemed happy, or at least good at faking it. The changes didn't come with fireworks. No shouting matches, no slammed doors, no silent dinners where the air gets thick with things unsaid. It started with her making more me-time plans. A new book club she never invited me to, a yoga class that always ran longer than scheduled, spa weekends with friends I'd never met. Once, she came home with a golden bracelet she claimed was from a pop-up artisan in town. I found the tag in the trash, designer, for $180. She laughed it off, said it was a reward for reaching her personal goals. I didn't even ask what those goals were. That's how much I trusted her. Or maybe that's when I started lying to myself. She began speaking in strange tones, not angry or cold, but distant, clinical. She started using phrases like, "I need to find myself again," and "I feel like I'm growing in a new direction." A new direction that apparently didn't include me. She used to come to me with everything silly gossip, work problems, existential meltdowns over bad haircuts. But lately, her phone became her confessional. Notifications would light up the screen, and she'd flip it face down like it had something to hide. Once, I saw a name flash across the lock screen. See, that was it. Just a letter. When I asked who it was, she smiled too brightly and said it was her career coach, like that explained the midnight texts. I still didn't confront her. I wanted to believe. I clung to the life we built the way a man clings to a burning house, hoping the fire might go out if he just stays still enough. She started making her social media private, claiming it was for professional branding. She stopped tagging me in anything, even our anniversary post. One day, she posted a photo of a beach sunset with the caption, "Some moments belong only to you." We hadn't been to the beach in months. Her smile in that photo, soft, relaxed, almost euphoric, was a smile I hadn't seen in years. Not since before we married. Not since she was still choosing me every day. I noticed how she'd linger longer in the mirror, wear perfume to run errands, put on lipstick to grab coffee with a friend. Once, I found a gym bag in the trunk of her car. It was brand new, full of tight athletic wear and a second phone charger. She hadn't stepped inside a gym in a year. I asked her casually what it was for, and she said she'd joined a fitness accountability group. I nodded, and she kissed my cheek like I was a puppy who didn't understand what he'd just heard. Even her body changed, leaner, sharper, almost sculpted. She moved differently. Confident, fluid, like she had something to prove but didn't care who noticed. I remember the moment it all almost unraveled. We were at dinner, a quiet Italian place we used to love, and she smiled at me with her mouth but not her eyes. I said, "You've changed." She laughed and said, "I'm evolving." Then she toasted to new beginnings while I sipped my wine and wondered when the old beginning ended without me noticing. I didn't press her. I couldn't. Because part of me was still hoping it was a phase, a burnout, a midlife itch, something she'd snap out of like a dream after the alarm goes off. But the way she slept now, peaceful, undisturbed, facing away from me every night, told me she wasn't dreaming anymore. She was wide awake. And she was already gone. She just hadn't moved out yet. It was a Thursday, one of those harmless, nothing days that slip past unnoticed in the weekly grind, and yet, it managed to punch a hole straight through the illusion I'd been clinging to. She had left her phone at home, something she never did, not even when she was in the shower. Said she was just running down the street to pick up organic oats from that overpriced boutique store she only started caring about when she became obsessed with cleansing toxins. The screen lit up while I was grabbing the keys from the counter. I didn't mean to look, truly. I was already late for work, but the name on the lock screen stopped me cold. "Found you, Red Heart." It wasn't the name that did it. Not really. It was the emoji. She used to text me with that heart every morning when we first started dating. Hadn't used it in years. Not even on our anniversary. My finger hovered. I told myself not to open it. I opened it. The thread was short new, maybe, but not careful. And she had never deleted anything in her life. The latest message read, "Can't stop thinking about last night. You tasted like victory." Below it, a photo. Not pornographic. Worse. It was her, my wife, standing in our bathroom mirror, wearing a robe I'd bought her for our 3rd anniversary, puckering her lips in a kiss toward the lens, neck freshly red with a mark that wasn't there the night before. I stared at it like it was a photograph of a dead body. My heart didn't race. My face didn't flush. I simply stopped. Everything froze. Time, sound, emotion. I was no longer a husband. I was no longer in love. I was a machine processing data. I went back to the message thread. Scrolled up. The previous exchange was earlier that morning. "You left your scent all over me. I love it." Her reply. "Good. She deserves to smell me on you." I blinked, not because I was shocked, but because I realized in that exact moment that I'd never fully known who the hell I had married. I wasn't just betrayed. I was erased. She wasn't cheating out of desperation or boredom. She was doing it with venom, with purpose, with enjoyment, and with zero intention of stopping. I put her phone back exactly where she left it, screened down on the kitchen island, and sat at the dining table in silence. I looked around our house not as a home anymore, but as a crime scene. The throw blanket she insisted on from some Swedish brand, the scented candles with names like After Rain and Autumn Mist, the espresso machine I bought her last Christmas because she said it would help her start her mornings inspired. It all looked like set dressing now. Now I knew why. She wasn't tired. She was full. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even grit my teeth. My face was blank, and my mind was already working, sprinting through 1,000 thoughts with surgical precision. Passwords to change, photos to copy, accounts to check, exits to plan. And Ava, yes, Ava would be useful. She always said I was too quiet, too calm, that she never knew what I was thinking. That's the thing about quiet men, we're not hollow. We're storing things. Every lie, every excuse, every fake moan and glass of wine left half-finished because she had a headache. I got up, went to the bedroom, opened the closet. Her suitcase, still with the tag from our trip to Montreal 2 years ago, was on the top shelf. I pulled it down, opened it slowly, started making space. Not for her things. For mine. This war would be fought with precision. It wouldn't be loud, and it wouldn't be rushed. It would be methodical. I would give her exactly what she gave me, only colder. Sharper. Cleaner. She walked through the front door 10 minutes later, cheerful, humming something again, keys jangling in her hand like nothing in the world was out of place. I didn't speak. I smiled and asked how the oats were. She said, "Sold out, can you believe that?" and kissed me on the cheek. I let her. And as she walked away, her phone still sitting where she left it, I imagined her face when it all came crashing down. When she realized I had known. When she realized I'd outplayed her. When she realized the only thing left of the man she once married was the cold, calculating thing watching her from across the room, and that he wasn't planning to leave quietly. She thought I was still blind. That was her first mistake. The second was assuming I loved her too much to notice the scent of betrayal slowly replacing her perfume. I became quiet, deliberate, more attentive than I'd ever been, but not in the way she believed. She thought I was trying to win her back, the way pathetic husbands do when they sense a woman slipping through their fingers. In reality, I was taking inventory. Of lies. Of inconsistencies. Of movements. I stopped asking where she was going. I started asking where she wasn't. I picked up on the details, the days her lunch container came back untouched despite claiming she was starving, the new playlist on her phone titled, "For the Drive," full of soft, romantic songs she never liked when I played them. She always came home at 6:30. Never 6:15. Never 6:45. I knew that wasn't the rhythm of traffic, that was the precision of a scheduled affair. So I started with the simplest move. I logged into our joint bank account and combed through 3 months of charges. Patterns revealed themselves like bruises under fading light, recurring charges to a boutique wine bar downtown she swore she hated, 2 identical rideshare transactions billed to her on nights she claimed she was working late, a payment to a hotel I recognized instantly. Because it was the same one we used to celebrate our anniversary. Romantic, ironic, revolting. She wasn't clever with the money. She thought if she paid for it herself, I'd never notice. But I knew every financial tick she had, every guilty transaction she once tried to hide from me was now a breadcrumb. I used the hotel's website, created a dummy account, and booked a fake reservation using her email address just to see what auto-confirmations might link back to her phone. 2 days later, I saw the message pop up, "Looking forward to welcoming you back, Mrs. Taylor." I took a screenshot. I didn't show her. I smiled at her across the table that night while she ranted about how detoxing isn't just about food, it's about people too. Then I made my next move. I contacted Ava, not directly. That would be too obvious. I created a fake Instagram account, one that followed boutique fashion trends and yoga influencers, a profile that looked exactly like the kind of sycophant Ava would follow back. I sent her a message. "Saw you in that photo with Claire. Small world. Are you two still close?" She replied within the hour. "I haven't spoken to Claire in years, thank God." So the book club with Ava, lie she fed me last Tuesday? Dead. I screenshot that too. I started watching her best friend, Danny. Not following her, just watching her public check-ins, stories, tagged photos. Danny was the weak link. Too loud. Too addicted to validation. She once posted a boomerang clinking wine glasses with someone out of frame. Same bracelet. Same nail polish. The hand was unmistakable Claire's. She was at that bar again, the one she claimed she hated. I saved the story before it disappeared. Then I did something small but effective. I left a note in her car. Just a folded sticky note on the passenger seat that said, "Does he kiss you the way I do?" No signature. No hint. She found it the next morning, and her face cracked just a little. She looked at me like a deer looks toward the bushes, not sure if the rustle is wind or a predator. I kissed her on the forehead like nothing was wrong. That same night, I asked her how Danny was. She said they hadn't talked in weeks. I nodded. Then I sent Danny a text from my backup number pretending to be a modeling scout. I offered a lifestyle photo shoot at the hotel bar where they'd been meeting. The reply was instant. Yes. I know the perfect look. I was just there with my bestie last Thursday. More proof. Another pawn moved. The deeper I dug, the less I felt. Not rage. Not grief. Just hunger, the kind of hunger a hunter feels when he's tracked the scent for miles and finally catches it fresh in the air. I watched her text someone under the table one night at dinner while telling me about a networking retreat. I knew it was fake. So I asked what company was hosting it. She stammered, said it was a coaching collective. I asked for the website. She said she'd send it later. She never did. I never asked again. I didn't need the link. I already had the truth. I was building a web she didn't even realize she was caught in yet. Every move she made now only pulled the threads tighter. And through it all, I smiled. I held her hand. I kissed her goodnight. Because she hadn't seen me shift. She still thought I was grieving. Still thought I was trying to save us. What she didn't realize was that I wasn't trying to save anything. I was already planning the funeral. She walked into the rooftop lounge with her hair curled and her makeup flawless, looking like she stepped out of an ad for the kind of life she thought she deserved, polished, admired, unbothered. The evening breeze caught her dress just right as she scanned the room, expecting a table, a glass of wine, maybe me sitting with the same quiet affection I used to give her when I thought I was lucky. What she didn't expect was the private room I had reserved in the back, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a single screen glowing faintly in the center, already cued to play. I greeted her with a calm smile, pulled her chair out like a gentleman, poured her a glass of the red she always used to love but lately claimed gave her headaches. She looked uneasy, just a flicker, like a mirror catching a crack in bad light. "What's all this?" she asked, trying to act amused. "Just wanted a moment alone. Just you and me. Like old times." She smiled, but it didn't touch her eyes. I let the silence breathe for a moment, then picked up the remote. The screen came to life. At first, she didn't recognize what she was seeing, her own silhouette, stepping into a hotel lobby, brushing a man's chest with a touch that lingered too long to be innocent. Then the kiss. The embrace. Her hand slipping under his jacket like it belonged there. She stared at the footage, her wine glass trembling slightly in her grip, and said the oldest line in the book, "It's not what it looks like." I didn't even look at her. "It looks like my wife using our anniversary suite to lie to my face." Her voice caught in her throat. Then came the next stage, minimization. "We were just talking." It got emotional. "That hotel has a nice bar, that's all." "Yes," I said, sipping my wine, "very intimate bar." "Does he always put his hands that far up your dress during small talk?" Her face flushed, but not with shame yet. "I made a mistake," she said, switching gears. "It didn't mean anything. You've been so distant. We've been disconnected for months, and you decided a stranger's hands would help reconnect you." I cut in, soft, surgical. She stood abruptly, the chair scraping the floor behind her. "Don't turn this around like you're the victim. You checked out of this marriage long before I did. I needed to feel alive again. I needed to destroy the one person who would have burned the world down to keep you warm." I finished, setting my glass down without breaking eye contact. She laughed then, sharp and bitter. "You're just mad I didn't beg for your attention. You liked being the hero, the safe bet. And when I wanted more, you didn't deliver." Her confidence puffed up like a dying flame trying to roar back to life. "You'll forgive me," she said, almost smug. "You always do. Because you're weak. You love me too much to walk away." I stood now, slow, deliberate, stepping close enough for her to smell the calm fury radiating off me. "I don't love you," I said, low and even. "I loved the person I thought you were." But that woman died the moment she let another man unzip her in a room I once lit with candles for her birthday. That wiped the smirk clean off her face. Her breathing changed. Her pupils dilated. The final stage had arrived. Fear. "What are you going to do?" she whispered, as if asking a ghost. "Leave me." I leaned in, almost close enough to kiss her, and said, "No, not yet. First, you're going to sit through dinner. You're going to smile for the waiter. You're going to taste the food, even if it turns to ash in your mouth. Because this," I gestured to the room, the screen, the emptiness, "is the last meal of the life you ruined." Her lip trembled. She looked around, realizing for the first time that no one else was watching, no one was coming to save her. I pulled her chair back out, just like before, and said, "Sit down, Claire. Let's savor the end." And she did, because she had nowhere left to run. The silence after the dinner was the kind that made your ears ring. She sat across from me, her eyes bloodshot from holding back tears she thought would manipulate me. Her breath short and erratic, as if trying to suck oxygen from a room that no longer gave her any power. She started with the trembling voice tactic, the classic soft approach meant to guilt me back into her orbit. "You don't understand what it's like to feel invisible in your own marriage," she whispered, trying to sell a story where she was the one abandoned, not the one undressing in hotel rooms behind my back. I didn't flinch. I didn't blink. I just stared at her like I was staring through her, and that's when the panic set in. "You never listen. You never ask how I feel," she snapped, her tone rising with desperation, morphing from soft victim to agitated accuser. "You smothered me with your perfect routines, your neat little life." I couldn't breathe anymore. I sipped my water and said nothing. She was expecting a reaction, a rebuttal, some sign that her words still held weight, but there was nothing left in me to sway. So she dug deeper. "You were boring," she spat, venom dripping now. "You were predictable, like a spreadsheet with legs. I needed more than bedtime at 10 and coffee on Sunday." I gave her one glance, unblinking, and said, "And yet you stayed. Not because you were unfulfilled, but because I made your life too easy to leave." That hit her like a slap. She stood up, pacing now, gesturing wildly, unraveling. "This wouldn't have happened if you were a real man. You should have fought for me, should have challenged me. Instead, you folded into whatever I needed you to be." I leaned forward slightly, hands folded on the table. I was too much of a man to need to prove it to someone already beneath me. Her mouth dropped open for a second, then snapped shut, trembling with rage. "You're a coward. You sit there with your smug little face like you're better than me." "I am." My voice didn't rise. I didn't lean in like a threat. I didn't even smile. I just stated it like it was a weather report, factual, undeniable. Because I didn't need to lie, sneak, or spread my legs to feel significant. She froze. Her hands balled into fists. She looked around, as if the room might echo with sympathy, but there was no one there to witness her unraveling. "You think this makes you strong?" she hissed. "You think being cold makes you powerful?" "No," I said calmly. "But watching you fall apart while I stay still? That makes it very clear who's in control." Her voice cracked then, the anger starting to falter into desperation. "I made one mistake," she said, her tone shifting again, grasping for pity. "Can't you see that? One mistake. Everything we had. Doesn't that matter?" I stood slowly, pushing my chair in with quiet precision. It mattered. To me. Until I realized I was the only one holding it together. She followed me as I walked toward the elevator, trying to block my path, tears welling now in her eyes. But her hands never reached out. They knew better. "Please don't walk away," she whispered. "Don't throw everything away. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. You can," I interrupted, stepping past her. "You can fix yourself. Alone. In the ruins you created." She gasped like I had punched the air out of her. "So that's it?" she shouted as I pressed the elevator button. "You're just going to leave me like this? After everything?" I turned back, just once, to look at the woman I used to love, shaking, cracked, confused that her tricks no longer worked. "You were already gone," I said. "I'm just catching up." The elevator dinged. She took a step forward, like she might chase me, like she might grab hold of whatever sliver of control she still believed she had. But she didn't. She stood there, breathing hard, eyes wide, watching the man she thought she owned walk away without a backward glance. And that, more than any scream or slammed door, broke her. Because the one thing she feared most was happening in real time. I didn't care anymore. And she could see it. She could feel it in every second of silence I gave her. She was spiraling, and no part of me was reaching out to stop the fall. She thought my silence meant surrender, that my quiet exit from that rooftop lounge marked the end of the story, but it was only the prologue to hers. What she failed to understand was that I never react, I respond, and responses are planned, deliberate, and final. The moment I walked out of that room, I activated a protocol I had already spent weeks building in the shadows of her arrogance. Step 1 was evidence. Every screenshot, every hotel receipt, every timestamped message from "Found You Red Heart" had been backed up, printed, and stored in multiple formats. I created a digital dossier with folders titled by dates, locations, and emotional manipulation tactics. Her lies weren't just cataloged. They were archived like historical artifacts. I scanned everything into cloud drives she would never find, encrypted with passcodes she wouldn't guess in 1,000 years. Step 2 was control. I removed her access from all joint accounts in the dead of night, rerouted my direct deposit into a private bank account under my name only, and transferred ownership of our second vehicle, registered in both our names but purchased with my inheritance entirely into mine. When she tried to start it the next morning, the car wouldn't recognize her key fob. I was at work by then, sipping espresso while watching her angry text roll in, each one more frantic than the last. I didn't reply. Step 3 was reputation. I sent a single email to her parents, not emotional, not cruel, just a concise explanation of the situation, complete with attached proof, and a short message. I thought you deserved to know what your daughter has done to someone who loved her. This is not a request for advice or reconciliation. This is closure. Her father replied with one word, understood. Her mother didn't reply at all. From there, I turned to her colleagues. Not by calling them. That would be petty. Instead, I drafted a professional, anonymous letter addressed to her company's ethics board, highlighting her affair with a client she failed to disclose, naming dates, locations, and circumstances where their relationship overlapped with confidential projects. I never accused. I simply asked questions and attached the kind of detailed documentation that forces HR to investigate without being told. Whether or not they fired her didn't matter. The seed was planted. Her credibility would rot quietly from the inside. Step 4 was the home. I called the utilities, cable, and insurance providers and stripped her from every account. The house was mine before the marriage, paid off in full with inheritance she once called stifling old money. I offered her 2 weeks to vacate. No negotiation. No debate. I even emailed her the timeline with bullet points and a calendar link. When she called me screaming, I declined the call. When she emailed to say she had nowhere to go, I responded with the contact info of 3 women's shelters and a polite note. I hope you find your path. You always wanted space. Here it is. Step 5 was legacy. I gathered all the photographs of us together, the framed vacation smiles, the anniversary dinner snapshots, the wedding album she insisted on designing herself, and packed them into a single box. I dropped it at her sister's doorstep, who had already messaged me earlier that week with one line. She told me everything. I'm sorry. Ava didn't ask questions when I left the box. She simply nodded and closed the door. The final move was legal. I had consulted a divorce attorney 3 weeks before I ever confronted her, and by the time she realized what was happening, the papers were served clean, ruthless, ironclad. Adultery clause triggered. Asset division weighted in my favor. No spousal support. No alimony. Her signature wasn't even needed to begin the process. She still thought she had time. She didn't realize that while she was sneaking kisses in hotel elevators, I was drawing up blueprints for the life I'd rebuild without her. And when she finally showed up at my office, mascara smudged, voice trembling, trying to scream through tears about what I was doing to her, I didn't even get up from my chair. I just looked at her and said, "You always thought I was the fallback plan. Now you're the footnote." She left in silence. That was the final move. Not the paperwork, not the financial chokehold, not even the professional sabotage. It was the realization in her eyes that the man she thought would chase her was the man who buried her without ever raising his voice. It happened at her niece's birthday party. Of all places, a cheerful suburban backyard littered with balloons and cake frosting, the scent of grilled hot dogs in the air, and children running through the sprinklers like nothing in the world could go wrong. Except everything already had, for her. She didn't know that I had already sent the evidence to her family's group chat an hour before we arrived. The videos, the messages, the hotel confirmations, all time-stamped, all brutally clear. I walked in first, handed her brother a wrapped gift for his daughter, and nodded politely to her parents, who stood rigidly by the patio table, stiff smiles carved into their faces like gravestones. Then she strolled in behind me, still wearing that performance smile, the kind she used in photos and in lies, laughing too loudly at something no one had said. Her sister turned away without a word. Her mother refused to make eye contact. Her father's face was pale and pinched, staring at her like she was a stranger. She caught the shift in the air almost immediately, the way everyone suddenly quieted when she stepped into the circle, the way eyes flicked between her and me with grim curiosity. She faltered, just slightly, but recovered with a brittle laugh. "What's with the funeral faces?" she asked, trying to lift the mood, but her voice cracked in the middle of the sentence. No one answered, not even the kids. She turned to her father. "Dad?" she asked, still smiling, the corners of her mouth twitching as if her muscles didn't know whether to pretend or collapse. "You didn't think we'd find out?" her father said, voice low, sharp. "You think we raised you to lie like this? To destroy the one man who treated you with dignity. Her breath caught. Wait, what are you talking about? This is. She looked around frantically, seeking refuge, but no one stepped forward. Not her cousin, not her brother, not even her best friend Danny, who stood at the edge of the lawn with her arms crossed, face unreadable. You're all acting insane, she snapped, panic bubbling just beneath the surface now, her eyes darting toward me like I might rescue her. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just watched. Danny finally stepped forward, phone in hand, and held it up without a word. On the screen was a still image from the video, Claire kissing her lover, the timestamp visible in the top corner. You sent me this by mistake last month, Danny said quietly. You must have meant it for him. Claire's face drained of all color. Danny, wait, please. That wasn't what it looked like. We were just... Save it, Danny said, her voice cold. You lied to me for months. You dragged me into your mess. And you know what? He never lied. Not once. He asked me to help because he didn't want to believe what you were doing. Claire's mouth opened, then closed again, words dying in her throat. Her father shook his head in disgust and walked away. Her mother turned her back entirely. She tried to laugh it off. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Are you all really going to judge me for one mistake? Her voice pitched higher. He's not perfect, you know. He's cold. He's manipulative. He just sat there while I begged. But her own words strangled themselves. Because everyone saw the truth in her face, that she wasn't remorseful. She was cornered. And as the silence thickened around her, as everyone stared like they were watching a car crash they couldn't look away from, her composure shattered. Stop looking at me like that, she screamed, tears suddenly breaking through. You don't know what it's like. To feel like you're dying in your own house, like no one sees you, but her words twisted into sobs, incoherent, jagged. Her knees buckled and she dropped onto the patio bench, head in her hands, hair sticking to her face as she tried to hide from the family she once ruled over with charm and manipulation. And I stood there, unmoving, a monument of quiet justice. She lifted her eyes through wet lashes and found me again. I didn't flinch. I didn't frown. I simply stared, watching her entire kingdom collapse into ash around her. And in that stare, she saw it, my indifference. My absolute, devastating indifference. Not hate, not revenge, just the absence of everything she once fed on. That's what destroyed her. Not the photos, not the silence of her family, not even Danny's betrayal. It was the knowledge that she no longer had a hold on me, that I could watch her drown and not extend a hand, that I had become the one thing she never expected, free. And in her unraveling, in the way she broke in real time before a silent audience of the people she had deceived, she finally understood what it meant to be exposed. Not loudly, not violently, but perfectly, completely. And I stayed there, watching every second of it. Because justice should be witnessed. It happened at her cousin's engagement party, an upscale affair with white tablecloths, string lights, champagne towers, and smiles so polished they could cut glass. Everyone who mattered in her world was there. Her parents still stiff with shame, Danny keeping a careful distance, her coworkers in designer dresses whispering about what really happened, and then, like fate couldn't resist pushing harder, him. The man she cheated with. I recognized him instantly. Clean-shaven, mid-30s, faux confidence slathered on like cologne, standing by the buffet pretending not to notice me. But Claire did. The moment she saw me walk in, her face tightened like a knot yanked too fast. She pulled me aside almost immediately, trying to keep her voice low, calm, like she had some semblance of control left. Why are you here? She hissed, her fake smile twitching for the crowd. Because you don't get to pretend, I said. Not here. Not in front of them. Her expression faltered. Please don't cause a scene. But the scene had already been built, and she'd laid the foundation with every lie she told. So I turned toward the crowd, raised my voice just enough, and said, I have a toast. People turned, glasses paused midair, conversation stopped. To the happy couple, I began, holding up a glass I hadn't sipped from. May they have what I never got, honesty, loyalty, and a partner who doesn't spend anniversaries in hotel rooms with coworkers named Chris. Gasps sliced through the air like knives. Head swiveled. Chris turned pale, choking on his shrimp skewer. Claire lunged toward me, grabbing my arm. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself, she hissed through gritted teeth. No, Claire, I snapped, yanking my arm free. I'm just finally giving you the stage you've always wanted. Go ahead. Perform. Tell them how you felt trapped, how I was too steady, how cheating was your way of personal growth. Her mother covered her mouth. Her father clenched his jaw and stepped forward, only to be held back by her uncle. Claire's voice cracked, but she raised it, desperate now. You think this is all on me? You think you were some perfect husband? You were cold. You were a ghost in our own house. I was lonely. You were greedy. I fired back. You had everything. Love, stability, respect. And you traded it for sweaty motel sheets and a man who won't even look you in the eye right now. Chris tried to walk away, but someone in the crowd blocked him. Claire turned, saw it, and snapped. You don't know what I needed. You don't know what it's like to be looked at like furniture. She screamed, her voice cracking, mascara bleeding. Then maybe if you acted like a person instead of a performance, someone would have stayed, I said, voice low, sharp enough to draw blood. You cheated because you thought I'd never leave. Because you thought I was safe. That I'd swallow it like everything else. But look around, Claire. No one's swallowing it anymore. Danny stepped forward then, voice shaking. Claire, you sent me the videos. The texts. We saw it all. You didn't just cheat. You lied to all of us. Claire spun on her. You're taking his side, she shouted. After everything I told you? After all the nights I cried to you about how trapped I felt. You weren't trapped, Danny snapped. You were just entitled. You wanted to be worshipped. And when he stopped applauding, you found someone else who clapped louder. The crowd was murmuring now, phones discreetly raised, eyes locked on the collapse. Claire looked around, wild-eyed, chest heaving. You all think you're better than me, she screamed. You think he's a saint? He's cold. He's manipulative. He's calculating. He made me feel small. No, I said, stepping closer, I made you feel seen. And that terrified you. Because deep down, you knew you were never worth the pedestal I put you on. Silence. Even the music had stopped. Claire stared at me, tears streaming, her makeup ruined, hands trembling. You don't get to walk away clean, she whispered. You don't get to act like the victim. I'm not the victim, I replied. I'm the ending. Yours. And with that, I turned and walked out, past the crowd, past Chris who couldn't meet my eyes, past her mother sobbing quietly into a napkin, past her father who gave me a slow nod of approval, past Danny who mouthed a silent, tearful thank you. Behind me, I heard her scream my name once, raw, broken, desperate, but I didn't turn back. Because the moment she realized her mask was gone, that the truth had landed like a bomb in the middle of her carefully curated world, was the moment she finally understood what it felt like to be destroyed with dignity. It didn't take long for the walls to close in on her. 3 weeks after the engagement party, I heard she was no longer working at the firm quietly let go, they said, though HR wrapped it in soft language like internal restructuring to avoid lawsuits. The real reason was clear. The emails I sent, the videos circulating in hushed whispers through office group chats, the professional complaints that followed, all sharpened to a legal edge. Clients asked questions. Trust disappeared. Her career, once her pride, collapsed in on itself like a building rigged with explosives. Her social media went dark after a series of pitiful attempts to spin the story, taking time to heal. Sometimes the truth gets distorted. Only God can judge me. No one bought it. Her followers vanished. The comments turned savage. Danny blocked her. Her cousin unfollowed. Even her best friend from college, the one who once told her she was the alpha female, posted a quote 2 days later that read, Karma has an excellent memory. Her parents stopped returning her calls. Her father, stone and steel, refused to speak her name. Her mother, who once said she could do no wrong, simply told family she was dealing with personal matters and begged them not to bring her up again. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that she moved to a different city, somewhere small, gray, anonymous. She took a job at a pharmacy counter. No title, no spotlight, no one asking where she used to work or what degrees she had. The affair partner, Chris, ghosted her 2 days after the blow-up. No breakup, no closure. He blocked her, deleted her, vanished like the coward he always was the moment things stopped being convenient. I ignored her emails, her messages, her late-night calls that always ended in voicemails filled with choked sobs and whispered apologies. But I saved one, just one, the one where she said, I still love you. I was stupid. You were the only one who ever really saw me. She sounded like a stranger reading a eulogy she didn't write. I didn't reply right away. I waited until I knew she was checking her inbox every hour, craving a sign. Then I typed 6 words. Strange. I don't remember your name. That was it. No greeting. No signature. Just surgical detachment. She showed up at my house once, months later, dressed like grief itself. Thinner, hair tangled, eyes hollow. She knocked like she didn't know what she was doing, like her own body was guiding her against its will. I opened the door, looked at her, and waited. She didn't speak at first, just stood there, holding the same photo album she once made for our anniversary, hands shaking like she was holding ashes. Please, she whispered, voice hoarse. I'm not that person anymore. I looked down at the album, then back at her. No, I said. You're someone worse. Someone who destroyed that person for nothing. Her lips parted, like she wanted to beg, but the words died before they reached her tongue. I didn't invite her in. I didn't scream. I didn't slam the door. I closed it with quiet finality, like the last page of a book I would never reopen. And that's when she broke. I heard it, her sobs echoing through the hallway, the thud of her knees hitting the concrete like a confession. But I didn't go back. I sat down, poured myself a drink, and raised a silent toast to the man I used to be. The man who loved blindly, fully, and without armor. He was gone now, and in his place stood someone sharper, stronger, and done playing the fool. She taught me that. It was the only thing she ever gave me worth keeping. And to everyone listening, thank you for hearing my story. I needed to tell it, not for revenge, but for release. I want to know, where are you listening from? And more importantly, did you enjoy watching her fall as much as I enjoyed rising from it?